Hi, all. My name is Jeff, and I like to help teachers and administrators find common sense solutions to ed tech problems. And our ed tech problem that we have today is how to create an Acadience dashboard using Acadience Learning Online. So, the problem of practice is that the reports from Acadience Learning Online aren't really simple to digest, especially at like a district or an administrator level. There's a lot of clicks to get the information that you want. They do provide a CSV file, which is fantastic, which gives us access to all of our data, but it's very large and it can be difficult to parse. And what we want is just a simple dashboard to see school and grade level data. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is a sample of what we are creating. We actually use this in our district. What we have is by grade level, we have a table that has the schools over here on the left. And then for each school, we can see the percentage of students that are scoring at or above benchmark at the beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year. And then we can also see the growth goals, percentage that are at or above typical progress for middle of year and end of year. And we do that for all of our grades so that we just have a nice looking dashboard. Now, it's beyond the scope of this video to talk about how to make this pretty, how to change the font, how to, style the tables and things like that. There are lots of videos on YouTube that talk about how to use Google Sheets and how to format it and how to make it look the way that you want it to look. What I'm going to show you is how do we get the data from Acadience Learning Online and parse it into these columns where we get these percentages. So hopefully by the end of this, you will be able to create this table and be able to display that data in a meaningful way. So the first thing that you need to do is log into Acadience Learning Online. You're going to go to the student list page. Over on the right-hand side, there are 3 dots. You click on those 3 dots, you get a pop-up that says Export Student Data. That's what we're going to click. That gives us this dialog here that allows us to set export options. What we want to change is the export format to make sure that we're getting combined reading and math benchmarks. That's going to download a CSV file to your computer. Take note of where that's saved so that you can find it later. Then you're going to open up a new Google Sheet and then name it whatever you want to call it, ALO dashboard or whatever. And you're going to click on File and the word Import. And this allows you to import that CSV file that we downloaded into Google Sheets so that we can make use of it. So here where it says Import File, you're going to click Upload and Browse. You'll get a dialog box that will allow you to go and find that file. Once you select that file, you'll see the file name here. And you want to change import location to insert new sheets. And this will insert a new sheet into your Google Sheet with all your data in it. So change that, click import data. And you'll see down at the bottom this new sheet has been added, has all your data in it, but it's got this really long name. So we want to change that. So we're going to click on this arrow here on this tab. Rename, and we're going to rename the sheet to data. You want it to be something short because it makes writing functions and formulas that work with that data easier, because then you have a short sheet name. Okay, once you have done that, you need to spend a minute on that data sheet and go find the relevant columns. We're looking for 5 different columns. We're looking for the reading composite status column. That's DK. GM is the math composite status column. So these have all of the at benchmark, below benchmark, those things for your composite score for each one of your kids. We want the school name column, which is column D. And then we want 2 more columns that we're going to filter by. We want the student grade level, which is column T, and the benchmark period, which is column U. If those are different for you than they are for me, just go ahead and note down which one's which so you have them written down so that you can access those later. Then we're going to go to the blank sheet that you have. It's probably called sheet 1. So down at the bottom where you have the data tab, right next to it should be a sheet 1. Click on that. And we're going to start building our table. And the first thing that we need to do is get all of the schools in the spreadsheet, or all of the schools in our district. So in cell A2, we're going to type the word schools. And then in cell A3, you're going to add this formula. And all formulas in Google Sheets start with an equal sign. And the unique formula gets all the unique values in a data set. So for us, we want to tell it to go to the data sheet that we created. So data exclamation point says get the data sheet. And then we're going to tell it to get everything in column D from cell D2 and then all the way down. We do D2 so that we don't get school name in as part of our data that gets returned. This will just return you cells with each one of your school names in it. It's a really good way to make sure that they're typed the right way in the future as we go and add to our formulas. So there's your list of schools. Then the next thing we're going to do is in cell B3, which should be right next to the first school name that you have. We're going to type this formula. It's just a big filter formula. But what this is going to do, we want to, so equals filter, the first column that you put into this filter formula is the column with the data that you want. So we want the data from column DK, which if you remember is the reading composite status data that we have. And we only want the composite statuses for the school that's in column A2. So data D to D is our school column. And we're going to reference cell A2, which is our first school. So if the school name is the same as A2, it's going to return the composite statuses. Then we're going to add another condition, data TT equals K. So we want the kindergarten kids. And you can put any grade in here that you want. You can put 1, 2, 3, whatever. But that's the grade we're looking at is kindergarten. And then we're going to look at data column U and get beginning. So this is the benchmark period beginning. You put that in B3 and you hit enter, you're going to get a list of all the composite statuses for that first school, for the kindergartners, and for the beginning of the year. Okay? So once you have that list, then we can go on to the next part, which is to count all of those students. So count that list. How long of a list is it? And that will give us all the students that took the test. So the count A function in Google Sheets does that. It counts every cell that has a value in it. So if it's blank, if they didn't take the test, it won't count them. But it will count every student in that list that took the test. So if you add count A parentheses and you add a parentheses at the end, now when you hit enter, it's going to return a number. So it's going to put a number in that cell, and that's what you want. And that's the number of students, again, from that school in kindergarten that took the beginning of your benchmark. Okay. Now we're going to move over to cell C3, and we're going to type another formula that looks really similar to the other one. We're just going to do this for a minute, just so that we make sure we get the right data. So here you're going to do a filter function again, and it's going to look exactly the same as the first one. We want column DK. If column D is the school name that we want, column T is kindergarten, and column U is the beginning of year. We're going to add one more condition, and that's we want if column DK equals above benchmark, or, so the plus is saying give me all that have a bunch above benchmark and give me all that have at benchmark. And if you hit enter here, you're going to get a list of just above benchmark and at benchmark. So this is our list of kids that have met proficiency. So it's that same filter function that we used earlier. We just added one more condition to it, that it's they either have above benchmark or at benchmark. And so you can already see what we're going to do on this. We're going to count it. So you add the count A function again. So count A, parentheses, and then add a parentheses at the end. And when you hit enter, you're going to get a smaller number than the first number that you got, because this is just your number of kids who are at or above benchmark. Now, in order to find the percentage, we already know how to do this. You're going to divide this formula, which is the top number of your fraction, right? That says these are the kids that are where we want them to be. You're going to divide it by the total that we already got, and it will return you the percentage of kids proficient. So this is what that formula looks like. So here we have our count A and our filter function, and then here's the division sign right here, and then we have the other count A and the filter. And if you put this in and hit enter, there's your percentage. It might be a long decimal point, but in Google Sheets it's super easy to change that into a percentage. Like I said, there are lots of videos on how to do that. So this is the formula that you're going to put in there. Now, there's a couple of quality of life improvements that you can make to this just to make your life a little bit easier. I created this so that we have beginning, middle, and end of year columns all ready to populate right at the beginning of the year. But if you do that, you're going to get an error that says it can't divide by 0 because you don't have any data there. So in order to break that, you put in some if-error functions. And this just says if it's an error, just leave it blank. Don't put the error in the cell. So here, before our filter function, we're going to put if-error. And that's going to add another parentheses over here, just so you know. So it's count A, if-error, and then we're going to add a parentheses over here. We're going to do that before our other count A as well. So, and you're going to do that. And then you put the other parentheses, and then we do an if error for the whole thing, just so that we don't ever error out. Like it just makes sure that if there's no data there, that it is blank. And so the second quality of life improvement, if you try to copy the original, so this original function, to a different cell, it's going to change your columns and it's going to change your cell references, and you don't really want that to happen. These cell references and column references are static. So in order to do that, we put these dollar bill signs before them, and that says it's always going to be column DK. The only thing that we want to not be solid is the row number of the school. So this says always give me column A, but as you copy down, so if I copy this into cell A3, which would be the next thing over, B2. Sorry, had a brain fart there for a minute. So yeah, so if I copy it from B2 and down, that will change to A3 and A4 and A5, whatever it is, and it will give me a different school. So that's what you want. And you want to be able to copy it to the right and then just change this beginning to middle. So you're going to change this beginning and the other beginning to middle, and that will give you middle of the year, and then change it to end, and that will give you the end of the year. And then you can copy down and change your grades, first, second, third, and then you can create all of those tables that we saw at the beginning. The other thing that you can do is build the same formula for your growth scores, which we saw on my sample, but it's the exact same formula. You're just looking, instead of looking for
at benchmark and above benchmark, you're looking for typical, above typical, and well above typical. So, but you just build the formula the same way. So hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this is something that uh, will be of a benefit to you in your district and in your school as you move forward. Please reach out in the comments if you have any questions. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I will put this formula down in the description below. Thanks.